Good evening, guys. Thank you for joining us once again on the Weekly Armchair Sports Talk. This is your Friday night edition of the London Lowdown, and it's also a preview for Arsenal versus Brentford. First game of the 2021-2022 Premier League season. It's going to be a cracker. So welcome to the show. Joined by me tonight is our resident Arsenal fan. It is William. William, how are you on this Friday evening?
I'm buzzing. It's great to feel like the Premier League's back literally in about 2 hours, and we finally get kicking off with us, basically. I don't have to wait too long. I don't have to watch everyone else and get nervous. I just get to go straight in and feel the emotion.
Yeah, you would expect it. First game of the season, you would expect it to be the unfortunate reigning champions, which is Manchester City. Nope. We're stuck with Arsenal. But oh well, we take it on the chin. So we're going to start things off with the most entertaining topic, in my opinion, is pre-season. The pre-season has ended for Arsenal. It wasn't a particularly good one, but to be fair, no one really cares in particular about pre-season. It's all about getting your players fit, ironing out who is needed in the team, your young players, who's going to stick around, who needs to go on loan. So I'm just going to ask you, what are your thoughts on Arsenal's pre-season, and which game in particular, in your opinion, was the one that pretty much summed up what Arteta needs to fix, has done well? Which one for you in particular, or do you think all of them in particular has been important? Your thoughts on that?
To be honest, yeah, all of them have been pretty much important in order for him to try a few things, see how the new signings, once they were in, give them a few minutes, see how they integrate with the squad. And also try new things. Unfortunately for us, most of our games, we started with Lacazette and Aubameyang starting next to each other. And now it seems like they're both out through illness. So this first game of the season will be pretty much a tester, just like pre-season. But it's when it actually matters. And it's time to see what the young lads can do, basically.
Absolutely. And just before I touch up on, you've mentioned Aubameyang and Lacazette. Before we get that, I'm just going to have a quick look at the comment. It is Mr. Rory. Good evening to you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Obama awkward, I should say. Your main striker, obviously, Lacazette's probably your second one, just based on in terms of like goals, contributions to the team. You would probably say in terms of importance, it would be Aubameyang number one, Lacazette number two, just from me looking in. But they are unavailable this evening. So in terms of leading the lineup tonight, is it going to be Martinelli, or do you think it's going to be something different? What do you think is going to happen tonight?
Judging by the reports, it's not going to be Martinelli, which doesn't surprise me because he's only back from the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So only had about 2 days training. Now he will be in the squad. It looks like it's going to be our 20-year-old youngster, Florian Balligan, getting his proper debut. Well, I think he's had a few games before, but like it's his full first team debut, I'm pretty sure, as a member of the starting squad. So
how do you feel on that, about Balligan leading the lineup for the first time, in terms of like his potentially his first start? If there's any other Arsenal fans that appear, or anybody else in general might just want to remind us if he started a game, I don't know. William will know as well. But how do you feel about Balligan starting the lineup? Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it's a wise move? What do you think?
I'm trying to think back, and to be honest, I can't remember him starting a game. I know last season we were obviously worried about losing him, so even in the Europa League, we didn't necessarily play him for a while until he signed a new contract. Then when he did, like, we gave him minutes in the group stage. He got a goal against, it's nothing, but it's against Dundalk, even though he only played like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
From what I've seen of him, he's very intelligent. He has the makings of being a good striker, but is the Premier League, it's going to be the next level, and it's a real test for him to pull up your socks and get going. This is the chance he's been waiting for, and it's finally arrived. And with Aubameyang not playing so well last year, Lacazette had a good year, but looks like he's out the door. I know Martinelli will be fighting. This is his chance to cement his spot in the team and actually get going. And there's no better time than the first game of the season to get a goal.
Definitely. And just based off the pre-season, which players for you stood out the most for you in terms of good performances? And I'm going to add a little twist to that as well. Which players, in your opinion, stood out, but not in a manner of they're actually not particularly good enough? Because in a respect, though, there are going to be players on your mind that are actually good enough for your club. it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just right now they're not good enough, but they could go out on loan and improve. So, in terms of for the right now, who stood out for you? And in terms of loaned out or potentially need to go, who stood out as well for you from the preseason games?
In pre-season, Nicolas Pepe had a very good pre-season. He looked very dangerous in the majority of games he played, and it was good to see that the form he had at the tail end of last season was picking on through, and that it can give him confidence into what will be his third season and the most important season in the Premier League. Because it's obvious he's our record signing, like 72 million. You've got to hit the heights, and he's been progressing year after year. And hopefully he looked good in preseason. And hopefully he can continue. Smith Rowe looked as good as he did to me anytime I watch him. He's going to be a big player for Mikel Arteta's plans. It's a big reason he got the number 10. He's going to be one of our key players. Him, Bukayo Saka, I think just it's the partnership. It grew up through Hale End, and you're just going to see it time and time again between the two of them. Just it's nearly telepathic, like the link up ability. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Saka much during the preseason, but that's for good reason. Obviously, after his rest at the Euros, and that's never a bad complaint to get that far as a young player. So,
absolutely, I agree on that one.
Yeah. In terms of bad, well, if I was judging by William's stomach, it was very bad to see. That was shocking.
I've seen that. Considering what he was last year, I mean, like I know myself, I'm quite a thin bloke, and he pretty much was frame wise the exact same as me, but he obviously had more muscle to his game than I do. But he has gotten particularly large over the over the summer period, and I'm like, how is that? Like
he just seemed really, really bloated, and it just seemed like it was really out, and just he was performing as well as he had all season last year, and it's just his time is done. Like if anyone comes in, like they'll get him cutthroat cheap, and a deal's there to be done with for basically any price. It feels like. As well, Kolasinac can definitely go and will be gone by the end of the window. We could tell he was definitely well past it. Other than that, like I think Okonkwo's not ready. Though to be fair, he got obviously a new contract with the first team as our young keeper. Obviously, right now he has to be backup keeper because we have no second choice keeper other than him.
That's right, yeah.
But to me, he just seemed a bit too nervous at the next level. Like he's had a very good time in the under-23s and is very highly rated, but it's one of those, like we've always got highly rated keepers, but they can always be very nerve-wracking. I mean, you realize like Chesney was very high thought of, but he always had mistakes in him. Flappy Hansky, who on his day was also a very good goalie, but it's just we've always had decent keepers that will just end up making mistakes, and that's what it seemed like he had the ability of doing in preseason. Unfortunately,
it must pain you though. Like you mentioned goalkeepers, and obviously the way the transfer window's gone, and over the summer as well. Obviously the move for Ramsdale has fallen through. You must be happy about that one. But in terms of like the transfer window, obviously you were linked with Buendia. I don't want to bring up a horrible memory, but obviously as a particular club, you were linked with Buendia for 30 million. Aston Villa popped out 33 million, got the deal done. But we talk about goalkeepers, and they, in my opinion, have the goalkeeper that Arsenal should never have sold in the first place, and that's Emi Martinez. And I just look at, obviously it was either one or the other. It had to be either Bernd Leno or it had to be Emi Martinez. You weren't going to keep both. But Martinez has flourished at Villa. Do you see anything coming through for Arsenal in terms of a goalkeeper, or do you think it's just going to be stick with the young goalkeeper as backup and have Bernd Leno as number one?
I think we will get someone, but whether or not that'll be a panic deal is another thing. I think we're looking for homegrown, and it's clear that we need, and that's even more irritating when you think of Emi Martinez because he's stayed in England for so long. He is still homegrown, even though he's Argentinian.
Exactly.
It's frustrating, but I do understand the point. This time last year, it was like they put in a good bid for a goalkeeper, plus it was one or the other, and nobody actually wanted Leno.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, there was no bids that would have came in for Leno at that time, and he had only played 10 games, So if we had kept him on and he didn't hit the heights that, say, he did at Aston Villa, he had a few bad games, the Arsenal fans would be out going outrageous saying, oh, why'd you keep this fella for, we only played 10 games for us, he's not that level. And it's just, you couldn't keep both. And he wanted to move on. He wanted to be Argentina's number one, and he wanted to be guaranteed a number one, where he wouldn't be guaranteed with us, but I think he would have been given the shot as number one at the start of the season, but he didn't want to take the chance and fight for it.
Absolutely. I've got a question here that's tied into what's coming on later on the show. It's for you. Just a quick brief opinion before we wrap into it later on the show. Question from Daniel. Good evening to you, Daniel. Hope you're well. Hope you've had a good start to your weekend. Just a general question before we get to later in the show, William. Generally, why are Arsenal in such a mess? Like, what are the genuine factors for Arsenal being in such a situation? Because you look at Arsenal's like, they're the third most successful club in terms of English football, like the third most successful club, and they've got such a prestige in terms of history and club status, and they've fallen that badly. Like, it's hard to even look at them right now and think, you just want to laugh, but also you look at it and you go, from a genuine point of, this is a club that, as far as, like, for me growing up, they were everywhere in terms of, like, the top four. They were always challenging when I was growing up, and now they're nowhere near. And it's not from a banner point of view, but from a serious point of view, like, how the hell are Arsenal in such a position where you, even as an Arsenal fan, you at times you must be completely embarrassed?
Yeah, I wouldn't say embarrassed, because you'll never be embarrassed fully to support your club, except for maybe, like, say in even the 8-2 situation, I wasn't fully embarrassed because I predicted to lose by 6 goals before that game, which was one of the very times I was actually happy but very disappointed to be proven right, because I knew we were fucked at that stage. You go back to now the ones against, like, Chelsea in the 5-2s and the ones I didn't expect to lose there, you'd be very embarrassed, them big games. But you have to go back to when we moved to the Emirates. That was the start of it. That was when the money started to get pushed properly into the game. We weren't able to keep hold of our proper good players. And as well as that, we weren't able to attract as many good players because we didn't have the financials to be able to do it. On top of that, when we are actually able to do it, and we finally brought in a few class players, you think of the times then we brought in, like, Ozil, Alexis Sanchez. Around that time is when we were flourishing. We needed a world-class striker, and we bid 40 million and £1 for Luis Suarez. You look at that, and it's just like the board, in terms of when they bring in and what we need to bring in, it's always been a mess. Whenever we've needed a striker, we've worked on, like, our midfield or our defense. Everyone said for years we need a defender, and we put it off. We kept on bringing in the attackers. And then when we finally needed a world-class attacker, we brought in, I think it was just Petr Cech that window, where we did need a goalkeeper and that.
Yeah.
Our board has never been good at targeting just what we need to continue moving up. And then it was a rapid decline. Not even a rapid decline. It was a very stable decline where we were just kind of losing pace. We'd get the one season where we'd come back, but that was through tactical genius in Arsene Wenger, who got the very best out of very terrible squads. I mean, you look back at them. I mean, there's always that meme. It's like, I survived this as an Arsenal fan, and you look at the team, and then you remember that team actually got us Champions League football with likes of fucking Coquelin in midfield,
Koscielny and all that.
Giroud, fucking Squillaci, Andre Santos, one of the worst left backs I've ever seen in the Premier League.
You also had, like, pretty much rough around the edges. You had Santi Cazorla as well, and I'm not mocking Cazorla. He's a player I've liked in the Premier League, but literally, you could take a look at Cazorla and you knew it was going to happen. It was either the man was going to score a free kick if Ozil wasn't around, or he was going to play an intricate pass. He was going to play 2 games in a row, and then unfortunately after that, the guy was gone for about 6 months. He could never avoid injuries, and it was a shame because he was a very talented player. And
I've said before, and I said it at that time, if Santi Cazorla did not get injured the year Leicester won the title, we would have won the league. He was that good at making us tick, and we were that good a football team at that stage that when he went, the team just went, and we lost the ability to play it properly. And I mean, we still finished second that season, but it was still not.
Was that the season where you were playing? You played Giroud up top and then you had Sanchez on the left, you had Theo Walcott on the right
Yeah.
wing, Ozil attacking midfield, and then you had the pivot of Cazorla and was it Aaron Ramsey?
Yeah.
But they were both unfortunately injured. Yeah,
They were
I
injury
can,
prone, and that was this year that Mesut Ozil had 14, 15 assists by December,
and then it dried up.
Giroud didn't score a goal for 5 months.
Yeah, that says all really when you say
Giroud for that.
that says it all really when you that says it all for you when you look at the fact when you've been open honest of we did not have a striker, and I look at it was the following season as well when Sanchez had his best ever season for Arsenal when he was played as a striker. Him and Walcott were rotating.
Yeah,
he had about 30 in all competitions. Alexis Sanchez.
Oh, man, his form in them seasons was absolutely phenomenal. He just had the hunger, and then next thing you know, he wanted a new high-paid contract, refused to play, lost his mentality. Then the worst swap deal in nearly history with him and Mkhitaryan, who we slightly got the better end of, in my opinion.
Yeah, it pains me to say because I like Sanchez as a player, but when he came to Man United, like the decline was there at Arsenal, but it was slow, so it was not happening. As soon as he came to Man United, it was instant. It was that bad. It was horrible.
You say it was slow. Like when I was watching Arsenal each week, like we knew it felt more rapid to us. It just felt like everyone else was seeing it and just not paying attention to it.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. So I'm going to quickly, before we touch back on Williams' players to watch for the upcoming season, I'm just going to go for a couple of comments. So we'll start with this one. Daniel says Arsenal need a goalkeeper, a right back, defensive midfielder, and a centre forward. I'll come back to William on that one in a second because I think that's a very fair comment. No Aubameyang or Lacazette question. That is correct. They are both ruled out. Daniel's comment here. My thoughts on Arsenal: they try to fix one problem at another. Another one comes up, papering over the cracks. Ben White is a brilliant signing, but they need a goalkeeper and a right back as well. Yeah, I'll ask your thoughts on that in a second. Jay, good evening. Come on, Brentford. I like this guy. Daniel's next comment, he will struggle to fix their defensive issues on his own. So I assuming that is Ben White. It's a very fair comment. They need a partner for Partey. It baffles me how they try to play out from the back and then they give away the ball continuously. And touch it from Jay. I hope Brentford win tonight. So I'm just going to flood through Daniel's comments. I'm going to get your opinions on it before we move on to your players to watch, William. So first of all, 4 positions he's highlighted in particular: goalkeeper, right back, defensive midfield, and centre forward. Out of these 4, in order of priority, which one for you is the priority out of these 4?
In my opinion, centre forward. We need someone to actually score the goals. We were doing decent enough, 3rd best defence in the league last season. And to add Ben White on top of that is very solid enough. And I understand that's to replace David Luiz and to actually progress the ball through up the pitch, basically. But we struggled to score so much last season. Aubameyang was on a downward spiral. Lacazette, he's grand. He'll get you 13, 14. But we did last season. It was probably one of his best seasons in terms of goals. But he's just not it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like, don't get me wrong, we could have greatness in Martinelli and in Balligan, but I still just like in centre forward that's a proper goal scorer that can offer us something different.
If you had to look at who's out there, either in the league or outside in Europe, is there anybody you would choose? Me personally, I think Raul Jimenez is a type of striker you guys would enjoy.
Yeah, to be honest, that is the type of striker that I'd love, is the type of Raul Jimenez. Obviously, for the ones we're linked with, I'm not too bothered with either. Like, I'd take Tammy Abraham, if I'm being brutally honest. And I know some people will be surprised with that, with their Chelsea links, but I just think he actually has, and I know it's potential, again, that dreaded word. The worst word in football is potential, but Tammy Abraham would be good enough. And obviously, Lautaro Martinez is one I would obviously love as well. But
just read Inter Milan again and just read Inter Milan and make me a happy man.
Yeah,
just make me a happy man, please.
Look, we sold Willock. If we get Odegaard instead of Maddison, it'll save us 20-odd million, and you can put that into going a bit more expensive on the striker in terms of Lautaro Martinez and putting like 60 million bid. Happy days.
Absolutely. So Daniel's mentioned 3 strikers. Obviously, he has reiterated that obviously Danny Ings has gone to Aston Villa. That was the shock of the summer for me in terms of out the blue signing. But in terms of like the 3 listed, he's mentioned Tammy Abraham. He's put in Callum Wilson as an outside, and then rounding off with Danny Ings. So we're going to scrap Danny Ings because he's gone to Villa. But out of these 2 here, Abraham or Wilson, obviously Lautaro Martinez would be an absolute dream, and that would be a steal in terms of like taking one of the best strikers from Serie A. But out of these 2 here, would Abraham be your first choice, or would you actually take a punt on Callum Wilson?
I do like Callum Wilson, but I think I'd probably go for Tammy Abraham, given that it's a weird one. It's not even for footballing reasons. I think if you're looking at it as a person, he doesn't have to uproot his family and the mental side of the game. He can stay in London. Plus, he's just a little bit more taller, and I just like a bit of a taller striker for what I think we're trying to go for. And he's played Champions League. It's just, he's kind of played it even at the next type of level, even if he hasn't played it much. Yeah. That's my opinion. And I understand why you threw Danny Ings as well. I'd rather a more physical striker at the beginning of the window. I would have rathered still probably more like a Tammy Abraham.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to go on, before I go back onto Daniel's comments, I'm just going to say good evening to Danielle, praying for a Brentford win. Don't worry, it's coming. Just kidding. You never know what's going to happen tonight. Exactly, you never know. Yeah. But I'm reiterating this point from Daniel, which was my thoughts on Arsenal is they're trying to fix one problem and another one appears. So it just seems like as soon as they go to fix one hole, another one appears. They are papered over the cracks. Ben White has come in, so it is a strength on the defence. I'm not sure if it's exactly what you need, but we're going to find out. But that first sentence there, like my thoughts on Arsenal, they're trying to fix one problem, another one comes up. Do you think it's who's actually in charge that because the problems keep appearing, or do you think it's because this squad has been around each other for so many years, it's starting to wear out, and it doesn't seem to be. I look at Man United, I look at Man City, and I look at Chelsea, where they recognise some points and they'll go and get someone to refresh it. If it doesn't happen, they'll go and spend money. But Arsenal seem to just give the time. Do you think Arsenal are not ruthless enough in terms of like fixing problems?
I think we were in the past. I think we've look, I know Edu and Mikel together are getting a lot of slack, but the way I see it is they're observing the problems and they're going for their targets.
Yeah.
Where I see the problem, obviously, what was it? He said like a goalkeeper and a right back are problems.
Right back, goalkeeper.
I think when you asked me at the start of the summer, I mean, we had many problems. We needed a cam, we needed a striker, we needed a backup left back, we needed like a midfielder, we needed nearly a whole new team. Let's be honest, we finished 8 2 years in a row.
True.
Well, what he's done is, he's brought in the centre back for the spine. He's brought in a centre midfielder in Lokonga that I think he'll start tonight, and hopefully there he can prove his quality and what he'll offer. He often likes to come back, pick up the ball, be a deep lying playmaker, pick up the ball, then play it forward for the other person in the pivot that can go slightly more attacking. And I think him and Partey will be a very
new name, ladies and gentlemen.
Will be a solid partnership. And absolutely. Where I know Xhaka gets a lot of hate, and everyone's like, "Oh, you should have pushed Xhaka on." What I don't mind keeping Xhaka as part of the squad,
just not every game.
I just don't want to see him play every single game.
Yeah.
I just think if he was part of a rotation thing, he's perfect. He's got quality on his day, but he can have a fuck up, but he'll offer you good quality more times than not. That's just my opinion. I don't think that the centre mid is as much of a problem now, but down the line we'll have to pick it up. Obviously, I think before the window ends, I'd love us to get as the central attacking midfielder, a backup goalkeeper, and a striker, which is a lot of business to do in 2 weeks, but I think that's what we need right now. I think the right back situation, yes, we need to improve, but I think we can hold out till January with the 2 or 3 options that we have. I think you can play Callum Chambers there, I think should be our starting number 1. And then I think you'd have Cedric as number 2 when we try and get Bellerin out because the
He
way
is
that we
generally not good
play
enough.
in the attacking sense doesn't suit him. In the right back, he likes an inverted centre back, so we play kind of when we're attacking with a back three with a double pivot while Tierney gets up the line.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't suit Bellerin. He wants to be overlapping. He wants to get attack. He wants to get goals, and that's just not what's wanted in our right back. So I can see Ben
Definitely.
White even possibly playing there. He played that role even though it was when Brighton played like a 5-back against Man City. He definitely played that role perfectly in that position. So I think that he could play in that right back position as well, but
Yeah.
we have to pick up a few more. But I think that'll be in January, and then we'll see what else we need.
Definitely. Just going to read a quick comment from Nick's that Arsenal midfield is a joke. Well, you never know tonight. They could be running about in clown costumes. You never know. We will see what happens tonight. There is a lot running on Arsenal as well because they are opening game of the season. I can't remember the last time Arsenal opened a Premier League season. I think it was a few years ago. So it is a big one for Arsenal as well.
Was it the Leicester one or the Liverpool one? We've opened like 2 or 3 times.
I think it might have been Liverpool, yeah.
I remember we lost 4-3 to Liverpool one year, and then the year after, like we beat Leicester 4-3. Yeah. So expect a lot of goals today.
It's always a madness. I'm going to quickly respond to one question from Daniel, who's off to the game tomorrow. I'm not, sadly, but if you are lucky, you see them, Keane and Amy, if you are a Man United fan in particular, Keane and Amy are at Old Trafford this weekend for the season opener. So if you are there, say hello. You might... you never know that they might have a bit of bantery about the game. Let's have a look here. Daniel saying he's getting early doors. I'm not surprised. I would want to be there quick and fast. Daniel suggested Max Aarons would be the perfect fit at right back. Is he though? Is he though the perfect fit?
I don't think he is. I think we need a more solid defensively, like how ye have Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think that's the type of right back that we need. One that'll stay back a little bit more while all the rest can attack. Don't get me wrong, you can attack the odd time, but I think we want to attack mostly down our left side with Tierney, and then let the attacking players, let it be Saka kind of one-on-one with their left back.
Absolutely, because I look at it and you've got Kieran Tierney. Obviously, he's going to be an interesting one this season because early 20s, he's a fantastic defender. He knows how to get forward and attack. It's just his injury concerns, which is repetitive. I'm hoping he gets over them purely from a Scotland point of view. But you've also brought in Nuno Tavares as well, which is a smart sign. He is an attacking fullback on that left-hand side. So he's going to work well from that position. So you've got an option. I completely agree. I think you need similar to what United have got, a defensive option that can just sit back, cover as a three-man defence, let Tierney go forward. And it works really well.
It's where I understood the links with ye, and I understand why it wouldn't happen with us. Kieran Trippier, even though he's a bit older, I think would be a very solid right back if we could offer them like Hector Bellerin as part of the deal and a little bit cheaper. Then that is one that I'd definitely be looking at. The only thing is he is a bit older, like 31-ish. That isn't where we're trying to go, but I mean, it would offer experience, but that's kind of the right back I'd be more looking at.
See, looking at your defensive options, obviously you've let Saliba go, which is a mad one. So we're not going to touch on him tonight. But in terms of I look at your defense, you've got like Gabriel, you've got Holden, you've got Ben White, etc. Do you think playing the back four is a wise decision, or do you think maybe playing a 3-4-3 would actually be more easier for Arsenal under Arteta at the moment?
I think at the moment, I do think that when I think a 3-back probably would have suited us more. But I think he's just trying to implement his own ideas that he doesn't want to go back to the old, and he wants to keep on trying to push forward into what he wants his future style to be, even if we don't necessarily have the players. That's why we went on such a bad run last year, is when we went from the 5 at the back to the 4-2-3-1, when we didn't necessarily have a cam. He knew he couldn't wait any longer to implement the style of play he wanted.
He had to go for it.
He had to go for it, and unfortunately we didn't have the personnel, and what followed was utter nightmare.
Odegaard and Smith Rowe weren't particularly ready for it as well. Look at it.
Sure. We hadn't even gotten Odegaard yet, and Smith Rowe was injured. So we literally had no one to play cam, and it was back at the stage where Mesut Ozil was not even in the squad, but everyone was saying, "Oh, why didn't you put him in the squad?" And that's a decision that
he made.
It's well known. It's well known. I'm happy that he made it, and I don't think would we have done slightly better. Yeah, but it wouldn't have suited how we wanted to play either.
Yeah.
But he's going to stick with the 4 back, and when we're transitioning into attack, it'll be like a 3-2, basically 3-2-5 with the attacking.
Which is still an offensive mindset as well, because you've got the 2 players just sitting, and you can have like 5 men just attacking. And in all fairness, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, if they attack you in the right way, they're going to get goals. So there we go. We pretty much touched on the system that William believes Arsenal should be using, which I do believe. So we've went a trainer reverse. So I'm going to ask you now, in terms of going into the season now, obviously your first game, for anyone that is watching now, William, who do you think is the players to watch for Arsenal, both tonight and going forward this season? Who would you say is like the players to watch?
To be honest, I think this season, Emile Smith-Rowe is going to have this season like Bukayo Saka had last season, in the sense that people from other teams are going to slowly start noticing him a bit better. And I think he's just going to keep it up and improve slightly on what he did last year with more numbers. Obviously, I feel Saka will continue to improve. I do think Pepe will pick it up, but also I'd keep an eye on Lokonga. I do honestly think Lokonga and probably Ben White will be proved to be 2 shrewd signings that'll help our team a bit more, but we still won't reach the level that we fully want to. That's my opinion on where we're going to finish. But I do think that you'll see improvement in our overall squad.
Yeah, based on the current squad, say you only make one more signing, whether it be a right back or a goalkeeper, because I'm not sure if you're going to sign a striker. You might not. But on the grounds that you sign either a backup goalkeeper or a right back, where do you see Arsenal finishing this season?
To be honest, I think 6th. That's where I've made my prediction, 1 to 20 in the Premier League. And to be honest, I put us 6th. I see us challenging for the top 4 positions, but not quite reaching that level. I think the 2 teams that I expect us to be challenging with will have slightly a bit more. I expected like Leicester and Liverpool to be challenging us for that last Champions League space.
Do you see Aston Villa challenging Arsenal for the top 6 position this year? Do you think they'll fall a little bit short? Like, it's just a little bit too soon for Villa?
I think I personally wanted to put Villa lower down than where I did put them on it. And I don't think they will be as good as people are thinking. But that's only because I think that there's a few of the players that'll just need time to settle into the Villa squad. Like, you look at the likes of Leon Bailey, who will come in. A very quality player in the Bundesliga, but you've seen the transition from the Bundesliga to the Premier League is not very easy, and obviously he'll probably be playing on like the left wing, and he'll have to replace Jack Grealish, and you got a tough job there, basically. I think they have a good squad, but I just don't see them reaching the next level yet this season. Now, give them a year playing together, then I think. To be honest, I also think John Terry leaving the squad could hinder him a little bit more in terms of just how they play as well. I just feel like it could be a loss losing a few members of your coaching staff as well, just before Premier League season. But I do expect him to finish in the top 10, like I'd say about 9th this year, which would be improvement because they finished 11th last year. So.
Especially for a club like Aston Villa, where they've spent the money losing their best player, but they've invested the money wisely. It's a matter of where they go. Just going to quickly run a few comments. So Nix has suggested Ben White as a player to watch. He's also said for Mari and Holding as a defensive catastrophe. Could well be. He thinks you're going to finish 10th. And of course, we can already tell what team he supports by suggesting London is blue. Well, that's for you. Personally, for me, I'm going to say London is red, because whenever Man United turn up, it's always for us, because it's always good and gold. Let's see, starting grid, which is Chelsea United. She's on our. This is Chelsea. This is Chelsea. So good evening to you, coming from our Formula One account. Whichever one, doesn't really matter. You are here, so good evening to you. It says you can't wait for the game tomorrow. That's obviously Manchester United versus Leeds, which is, for a Man United fan, if it's half 12 tomorrow morning.
Let's be honest, for any football fan, it should be a very good game, because Leeds are one of the best teams in the league, and you've got obviously United, who are a very solid outfit, and it's going to be attacking, and it's going to be it's the second game of the season. First proper game on a Saturday. It should be a solid game as well. Like,
yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing for it. I cannot wait for tomorrow. We're going to absolutely tear them up. Because obviously I have to. I don't want to get too wild in it, because obviously this isn't about Man United tonight. This is about Arsenal. But I'm going to ask you a question before I move on. I just want to say good evening, United Link. I just want to ask you something. Looking at Brentford, this is their first season in the Premier League. They've spent money quite wisely. They've brought in Christoph Ayer from Celtic, which is a smart signing at centre-back. They've kept Ivan Toney, which I think is an absolutely fantastic. I think for them, that's their best business. They have not lost Ivan Toney. But in terms of their first season in the Premier League, where do you see Brentford this season, and what sort of game do you think they're going to bring to Arsenal tonight in terms of like coming at you first game of the season? What do you think?
To be honest, right, as much as like the football hipster, everyone loves Brentford, and obviously I've watched only a few games. Like during the playoffs, I watched them play more so.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% certain how they're going to be. Now, I've looked up a little bit just so I'd be a little bit interested to see. I think they're going to bring on a lot of pressure. They're obviously a team that likes to play football properly while playing they brought in a 3-5-2 formation.
Mm-hmm.
Ivan Toney, obviously a mental goal scorer for him last season. Again, as I said last year with Ollie Watkins, this is the next level. So you're either going to make it or you're not. I do think he will pick up a nice amount of goals, but it'll be a learning curve for him definitely at the start. But he's facing us, who was the third best defense in the league last season, obviously with Ben White now in. So it will be a new challenge for him, but I do expect him to kind of press us into situations where like we're going to be passing out from the back. I know we are, because we've been doing that even more so in pre-season, which worries me a bit with Leno's distribution.
Yeah,
I can imagine they're going to pass to the centre back, and when they pass it to Chambers, I feel like he's going to be, once he gets the ball, they're going to press it in a certain way so that we have to try and kick it down the line. And obviously whether he fucks up and loses possession is where they'll get joy. Whereas if he has composure enough to either pass it back to Leno, or will then pass it out to Tierney on the other side and we get a counter, or whether he can do a proper crossfield switch, that's kind of where the game's going to be won. If we can break their press in the beginning, that's where I feel like it'll be the big challenge. But also it's important for our right winger to have a very good game against their left back, Henry, I think it is. I think he's a very solid defender, apparently. Very good 101, but also likes to get forward. And obviously, if it was Pepe on that side, he can lack defensive awareness, so he could possibly get that side. So for that reason, I hope it's Saka on the right wing and Pepe on the other side. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think it's a matter of him getting the personnel right in terms of your system, in terms of what they offer. They are a very attack-minded side. Tony's just a physical machine, and like honest to God, if you've never watched Ivan Toney before, to anybody watching watching the show tonight, which are 7 people in the chat, thanks for watching. Please hit that like button, please hit the share button, subscribe, hit the notification bell for the weekly Armchair Sports Talk as well. We're just going everywhere at the moment. London Lowdown, Devil's Advocate, Three Devils and a Gooner. We've got everything going. But in terms of like, if you've never watched Ivan Toney before, or Brentford in terms of the Championship, best way to describe it, you are in for a treat tonight. You are, even though it's against Arsenal, it doesn't matter who you're up against. Brentford will come at you. They're just a joyful team to watch. So if you've never watched them before, you are in for a treat, especially Mr. Toney.
And if he gets a penalty, he's definitely going to score it.
He ain't missing. He ain't missing. But there's an interesting comment from Nick's here, which is, to be fair, not wrong. Brentford should be a must-win for Arsenal. They've got to win this, because following games, Chelsea and Manchester City, straight off the bat, it's not a start I don't think any Arsenal fan would want. But in a way, it's also kind of an exciting way in terms of like how you start the season, because a rival within the first 5 games, it's actually could come in your benefit. So in terms of like your run of games, like your first couple of run of games of the season, how do you see it faring out? How do you see it faring out?
It's going to be mixed. We'll win a game I don't expect us to win, and we'll lose a game I don't expect us to lose. That's typical Arsenal at the beginning of the season usually. we should beat Brentford. However, it does worry me what can happen, because anything can happen. It's their first game in the Premier League. Is it ever, or were they back up in like
From
the
what
90s or
I'm
something?
aware, this is their first game in the Premier League. Yeah,
like it just worries me that it could be a similar situation to when Leeds played Liverpool in the first game of the season last year, and that it could just be mental. But in terms of that, like, we need to win this game. I know he's obviously saying London is blue, but when was the last time Chelsea beat us? It must have been the Europa League final. Like, we did the double over him last season. We had a man sent off against them in one of Arteta's first game. Yeah, it was one of Arteta's first games. We lost 2-1, and Jorginho should have been sent off, got the equaliser because of a Leno mistake. And then a few weeks later, we went back to Stamford Bridge. We were down to 10 men, and we got it back to 2-2 because that was the Martinelli goal. And the Bellerin first game back, he got a goal. Like, when we play against Chelsea, it hasn't been too bad the last few seasons, so the Chelsea game doesn't scare me. But the Man City game, good night, God bless. We ain't scoring a goal because we can't score past City, and they're going to win like 1 or 2-0. It's just, that's Arsenal v City.
It seems to be a recurring factor with like Manchester City in terms of against Arsenal is they just dominate. They just dominate you guys completely. They overwhelm you with, which, to be fair, they overwhelm everybody. It's just what they do. They overwhelm you with pressure. They attack you from all sides. They dominate the ball really well. And it's just a matter of when Arsenal play against them in recent years, they just cannot seem to score against them. And I think it's just the fact there's just something about Man City that Arsenal just cannot seem to score, and it's hard to pinpoint.
We always make a mistake or lose a man, and that man always seems to score, and it's Raheem Sterling. And he can barely score against anyone else, but he always scores against us.
True. He's always in Aaron Wan-Bissaka's pocket, but he seems to jump out for 24 hours. He seems to score against Arsenal, then he jumps back into his pocket. It's the Sterling way. But I'm going to ask you now. I'm going to ask you an important question in terms of, we already touched on it earlier on. I wanted to get a little bit in depth to it. Arsenal strengthening in terms of key positions between now and the end of the transfer window. Do you see a signing coming in? Do you think it's going to be the right position? And lastly, who do you think is going to come in as well?
To be honest, yeah, I think we are going to make one. I wouldn't be surprised to see 3, but I think we're definitely going to do 2. I think we are going to sign a cam. I have a feeling it'll be Odegaard. I just think that deal is there to be done now. We've got a lot of work to do.
Not Madison, no. Not Madison. It's going to be Odegaard.
No Materson, like M. Nah, it'll be Martin Odegaard, I'd say, to be honest. Look, I do think we were going for Madison, but I think the main reason that was because we didn't expect Real Madrid to actually want to sell Martin Odegaard this year, but he's obviously not fancied by Carlo Ancelotti. And to be honest, I think from what I saw of him last season, I think he's a very intelligent player, and I think he's only going to improve our squad tenfold, to be honest. He gave us a lot of different options. He seemed like the most intelligent player for us, the way he could pick out a pass and everything. He definitely reminded me a bit of Mesut Ozil, but hopefully he had a bit more work rate than Mesut Ozil did, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think him, and for some reason, right, I have a feeling Tammy Abraham's coming to Arsenal.
Do you think he's not going to go to Italy at all? You think he's going to stick with the Premier League?
I just think he's going to stick with the Premier League and not want to go Roma. Now, this could be totally rubbished by tomorrow. If he's agreed personal terms, then that's done. But it was around today now that the Chelsea board would have been talking with Roma, and the player would have been talking with Roma. And it's just, you're just waiting on that news. And I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised to see Lacazette end up with Roma. That's the way I could see it, that way being the merry-go-round if Tammy Abraham does that, and then that'll be the perfect deal for us. But we'll see. And then hopefully a backup goalkeeper, because we need it no matter who it is. We just need someone that's Premier League proven. Yeah,
definitely. You do need that. You definitely do need a proven striker as well. It's understandable to the league. One last comment before I move on. From Nick's, Lukaku will have Ben White for breakfast, Bellerin for lunch, and Leno for dinner. So I wonder who he's going to suggest for supper. We never know, really. Just touching up on Lukaku to Chelsea. Lautaro Martinez was linked with moves. Obviously, he's a dream for so many players. I mean, I would love him at Man United, to be honest. He's a quality player. Spurs wanted him. Yourself, you want him at Arsenal. With Lukaku being sold to Chelsea, do you expect to see any other major striker movement within the league? Obviously, Harry Kane's I don't see that happening now, and I think it'll be next year. Do you see anything popping up?
I don't know, to be honest. What was the full question again?
Based on Lukaku moving to Chelsea, do you see any major striker movements happening now in the Premier League, or do you think it's literally that's it for now?
I do think Martinez could move, but I don't know. I'd say it's nearly done unless you count if we got Tammy Abraham a major move, which I wouldn't call it a major move. It's just a move that we need. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily see it happening, but it's not saying that Spurs won't necessarily sign Lautaro Martinez as well, even without selling Harry Kane, knowing that he's probably gone next year.
Yeah, they could make that in advance, just knowing what's coming, which in a way would be very smart business from Daniel Levy and Tottenham. Obviously, for Nick, he's saying, as it stands, every player agrees terms of Arsenal, but nobody comes low. Sadly, that's the nature of the beast at the minute with football. Is anybody agrees terms, but if something else pops up, it happens. We've all seen it. But I'm going to move on. I said before we went live, I had a very unpredictable question for you. It's slightly Arsenal related, but unrelated at the same time. Crystal Palace. Obviously, they've made Patrick Vieira, a former Arsenal captain and Arsenal legend, their manager. Looking at Crystal Palace, what do you see for Vieira this season? Do you think he's going to last, or do you think he is in such a difficult position it's going to be too much for him?
I don't know. I'd like him to do well. He's brought in a nice few young players, but I just think with a mix of his starting fixtures as well, if he doesn't get to the ball rolling, plus they've had 10 players leave basically through their contracts ending last year, replacing Roy Hodgson, who for them was a very solid figurehead, just kept him stable, kept him that. I just think it could be a big struggle. And from what I feel like, it seems like he never has a team that has a set style of play. And I think in the Premier League that can help him in the odd game, but I think in the long run that's going to cost him massively. And I don't know, I have a feeling he isn't even going to make the year, or will be sacked this time next year, and it just won't work for him. But I expect him to be kind of in a relegation hunt this year, and around 16th, I think I had him 16th or 15th.
Which in a way would still be good for him, because obviously losing so many key players, he doesn't have Eze for about 5-6 months, which for me is their best player by he's their best player by a country mile. Not having him is going to be a problem. There's always been uncertainty with Wilfried Zaha, even though he gets goals, he's never really lived up to his potential. He thinks he's bigger than what he is. In my opinion, he definitely isn't. But I look at what he has to do, and he's got such a season ahead to prove himself under Vieira. I thought I'd ask you that question, because obviously he is an Arsenal legend. He's new to the league. It'd be good to get your opinion on it. We are going to move on. I'm going to leave the most important topic to the end, because that's where it's going to get really interesting. But I'm looking at the Arsenal team. Who do you think is going to be Arsenal Player of the Year?
Ooh. I'm gonna go. Hey, who says he's even arrived yet? But to be honest, I'm gonna go with Smith Rowe. I think that he's gonna pick it up and just keep up his form, and I just think he won't. I hope he doesn't get too many injuries. But I think this will be the year that he picks it up properly.
Smith Rowe, yeah. It's an interesting one for me. Personally, I'll be honest. I had. Once he returns and he'll probably kick on, I was stuck between Smith Rowe and I had Saka. Just he's a very good young talent. I think he's got such a glass ceiling in terms of where he's going to go. It's a matter of him just kicking on. Like, what position as well does he want to play? Does he want to be used as a winger? Does he want to be used as a wing back? He's competent in both roles. He's shown himself that he can do it. It's just where he wants to go. I think the way he is on that right hand side, he's so crucial for Arsenal that he's probably your best winger out of all of them there.
Ironically,
maybe Pepe.
Ironically, I think he might not be starting tonight. Saka now.
Oh, really?
By reports, yeah. So we'll see.
So based on reports, who do you think is going to be your starting lineup?
So, like, we'll have Pepe on the right-hand side, Martinelli on the left wing, apparently, and Balligan starting as well, with Smith Rowe in the 10, Lokonga and Xhaka double pivot. I don't do this backwards, so sorry for anyone who's confused.
I like the unpredictability of the backwards approach.
But to be honest, then left back Tierney, centre backs Mari, left centre back Ben White, right centre back, right back Callum Chambers, and Leno in goal.
It's not too bad. And if you had to put a punt on this response, Saka's best position, where do you believe is Bukayo Saka's best position as an Arsenal player?
You see, it's like, is it left wing? Is it right wing? Is it even Cam? I think it's right wing. I think he is slightly better on the right, but I think he can be equally as good on the left. But I'd just put him slightly. He looks a little bit more comfortable on the right hand side. However, that affects Pepe, unfortunately, sometimes.
It's true, yeah.
But I'll do Saka first.
I do have another question for you. Last season, it was a bit of an odd one. Obviously, we saw with COVID, there were some circumstances within one particular member of your squad, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He had a bit of an awkward season in terms of his performances dipped. Sadly, he lost a family member. He also had malaria. It got to the point where, is Aubameyang the man to lead Arsenal? And I'm going to ask you purely on the sense of it, your opinion. Do you think Aubameyang's going to have a better season, or do you think Arsenal should do the wiser thing and potentially cut ties with him and look to replace him now, or do you think give him the season? What do you think?
I think we're going to give him the season regardless, because to see whether it was a one-season blip or was basically the start of a decline.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it is the start of a decline, and I don't think it's going to pick up, unfortunately. He might pick up maybe one or two more goals than last year, but I think your 20-goal-a-season strikers just playing from the left wing is done. He still has some talent, but there's just something in his head that's gone. Maybe it's a mix of the malaria, maybe it's a mix of everything, but it's just seemingly just not working for him anymore. And I think if he has a season this season like he did last, he isn't going to play as many games. I don't think Arteta will give him all right, you're the captain, you're the star player, because he hasn't been for the last year. And I think he'll be a bit more ruthless with him this year.
Who do you think will be the man to lead, not in terms of lead the line? That's like, obviously that's most likely we'll look at later once the season continues. But who do you think is actually going to be the man that actually leads you out onto the pitch in terms of who do you think is going to be the captain this year? Do you think it's still going to be Aubameyang, or do you think it's going to be someone else? I know you've said a few times to me before. You've mentioned Kieran Tierney, who I think could be a good captain for Arsenal, but I think that's maybe later on. I think it's I don't think that's a straight away decision. But if you had to say right now, who would you say should be the Arsenal captain?
To be honest, I would choose Tierney. I think the way he just leads on and off the pitch is an example to all the players, how he just stays humble, is hard work, and I think it's everything we want an Arsenal captain to be. I think the big thing is going to be who's going to be our captain tonight. Because, I mean, Aubameyang's out, right? True, yeah. So Lacazette isn't there. He'd be second captain. Now, will it be Granit Xhaka? That obviously went down badly against Crystal Palace. However,
is that the game where they told Arsenal fans to
quiet it down, when we were just wanting him to get off the pitch quicker because we were drawing and we wanted to move on? But look, to be honest, last season he had a good season. like he was probably our third best player last season, and I'm not a problem with him staying. But I just think that captaincy is a burden on him when he actually has it and is a bit too much weight. He can be a leader without the armband.
Yeah.
So obviously, before that, then obviously Rob Holding was our captain. He'd be off the pitch. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see it be either Kieran Tierney or Leno as a captain tonight.
That's a fair shout. I've got two questions. Sorry, I've got three questions in the live chat for you, so I'm going to run through them quickly. The first one's from Daniel, specifically to you, William. Do you actually think Arteta knows his best 11?
No. Last season, he didn't for the whole season, to be honest. And I can't tell you our best 11 at the moment. I can tell you what I think it is. But
if you had to
know until you try.
Yeah, if you had to name off the bat, who would you say right now is Arsenal's best 11?
If everyone was fit, let's put that comma in.
If everyone is fully fit, who is Arsenal's best 11?
Right now, obviously Leno in goal because we have no one else. Right back, I would say Callum Chambers, for what Arteta is trying to do, is the best right back, which needs improvement.
Yep.
I'd go Ben White next to Gabriel, who unfortunately won't be back until September through the injury, but that's a shame. Left back Kieran Tierney. In midfield, I sound mad like a fanboy, but I'd put Lokonga in there next to Partey. I think that will be our best number 2, because I think Lokonga will drop off trying to play a bit deeper and allow Partey to move forward a little bit more and show his talent in that sense, while they can both break up play as well.
So Lokonga is sitting in Partey more of like the box-to-box that he was renowned for at Atletico, pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay, good, fair enough. Who would you have as your front four, like the front four positions?
Smith Rowe in the 10.
Yep.
Saka's in there.
I like how you're like, I'm trying to figure out Bukayo Saka. Where does he go?
Like, right, do you play Saka on the left wing and do you play Pepe on the right with then a striker where, for the system, I'd say Lacazette is better than Aubameyang.
Yeah.
That's for us. That's where we need a new striker. So that's what I'd say there. But do you play Saka on the right and play Gabriel Martinelli on the left as another goal scorer? That's where is it the Gabriel Martinelli goal scorer you need, or is it Nicolas Pepe amazing brilliance with his feet and playmaking and can pull out a worldly goal? Which do you need? And then can Saka play on the other side?
Yeah.
But that comes down to management and what the opponent is as well.
Here's an interesting one for you. Say you didn't sign a striker and then he chose to just ignore Lacazette and Aubameyang. And Balligan, we don't know where he's going to go. Would you consider a front four of Smith Rowe in the 10 if you didn't sign a number 10, for example? So Smith Rowe at the moment. Smith Rowe is your attacking midfielder.
I know where you're going.
Saka right wing. Martinelli left wing. Nicola Pepe up front.
I wouldn't be against it, to be honest. I was discussing it earlier with my mother, who's obviously the Arsenal fan as well. Yeah, to be honest, I think he would show a lot of quality up there. He has a nice bit of pace. He has a good bit of trickery that if he got in a one-on-one with the centre back instead of necessarily the right back, then good night. He'll create a lot of chances.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's our best finisher at the club. He was last year. When they were shooting, apparently he was the best one. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe not play up there on his own this season, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of play as like in a 2 up top as a deeper line striker.
He does have the pace for it as well, Nicola Pepe, and he is quick with his feet where he could be a danger if you actually played him up top in that system. So I'm going to run through before we get onto the final topic of this evening, which is coming up very shortly. So Nick's is asking, Aubameyang is 32? Is that where he's at?
Is he
right
31 or 32? Yeah, something like that.
He's in there, yeah. He's definitely not getting any younger, I agree, Nick's. Daniel's asking you a question as well. He's asking, is Lacazette going into his final year of his contract?
Yeah, he is. So that's why, personally, I'd rather sell him if we can, but if no one wants to go in for him, then we ain't going to replace him, then fair enough, he'll go on a free next summer. Like, this is Lacazette's last year at us if he gets this year.
would you be opposed to him leaving on a free? Obviously, if push comes to shove, you couldn't sell him.
Last year, if you asked me when the season was going ahead, I would have said, no, I don't mind if he stays for a free. Then if he continues picking up like 13, 14 goals, linking up the rest of the play, then I wouldn't mind him staying and leaving on a free. But if we can get rid of him and get a better player, then obviously do that. But I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm. And last question, what I can see from Daniel, it's a bit of a controversial question to a degree, because obviously there can be good moments, there can be some bad moments. That's the scene with particular people enjoying themselves on camera, especially. But William, your thoughts on AFTV? Since kind question by Daniel, a viewer of the channel. Thank you for that question, Daniel.
Right. To be honest, I haven't watched them since the season stopped. I haven't watched them. Like, I will watch some of their post-match thoughts to see how it differs compared to mine. Mm-hmm. But I'll only watch a certain amount of them. Like, there's some people on there that I just wouldn't listen to, and some people do my head on. Like, there is some fan cams that you just be like, oh, jog on, like, and they're over the top the whole time, and it's just like, no.
Yeah,
relax. There's no need for this level of just playing up for the camera is what it is the whole time. Like, if I'm being honest, like I didn't mind. It's weird. I didn't mind Troops when he was on AFTV, but now he's gone to America. He's just heightened it up tenfold, and it's gotten even worse. And it's just like, whoa,
yeah,
what he's doing, mate? He's next level, just bad. I think
it's got too far. Like, it's gone way too far.
My intelligence won't allow me to listen to Ty for too long. God bless him. He's a loyal supporter and he loves us till the end, but he can be a bit deluded and everything.
I don't like his some comments he does make that really absolutely bonkers. Like, I remember watching a YouTube clip of him years ago that was absolutely funny, and he blamed an Arsenal performance on the rain, and I was like,
yeah,
I'm like, no wonder Jurgen Klopp is blaming the rain. Like, he's clearly got it from Ty.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, there's stages where it can affect the game and it won't help us, but you can't blame the rain for a loss. Like, it has an impact, but you can't just solely blame that. We just weren't able to deal with the conditions.
It's purely bonkers. And Nick's is reiterating, it is a great watch for rival fans. It depends on who you're watching. In terms of who's actually on them, then yeah, it is a good watch.
Like, I understand as well, other people hate DT. I actually don't mind listening to him. I feel like sometimes he can talk sense and other times he can be very opinionated. I understand that there may be other reasons why people don't like him, but I kind of respect his opinion as an Arsenal fan. It's like, okay, there seems to be not much bias in it. He will try and play it as it is, but
I particularly don't like Ty purely for his comments he put about Sir Alex Ferguson over the summer, which is still annoys me. The comment he made, which really is annoying. Daniel's asking, "What's your YouTube channel?" I don't think you are particularly on YouTube. You're here, do you?
I'm pretty much mostly here. I mean, I have a YouTube, but that was mostly when I was uploading when I was like 17, 18 singing. But I mean, there's a revelation for anyone that didn't know. But yeah, I don't really do much. It's mostly on here. And if you followed my Twitter, I'm sure I'd post whenever I was on anything. But it's pretty much here on the sports.
Absolutely. It definitely is a club level excuse. Daniel says that he doesn't mind Pippa and DT. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't got a clue who Pippa is. And because I only watch it now and again, and Nick said that Lee guy is a pure gem. No, pure gems.
To be fair, I don't mind. I'm pure gem too, and this guy. But great, it's pointing the wrong way too. I can't even point. There's a gem moment for you. Flip it up.
That's a gem moment. There's a new follower for you as well.
I don't mind Lee Judges either. At times, he can go a bit on the negative sometimes, but sure, we had him on here for the Arsenal v United show. I think Keane had him on, and he was proper sound as well. He's a lovely chap.
He has moments where he can be a bit eccentric, but that's some people. I've just got a message, and this might intrigue you. Saka is not starting tonight.
Yeah. It's kind of what I felt like. It's the team that I said in backwards. I'll say it forwards now. Leno, Chambers, White, Mari, Tierney, Xhaka and Lokonga, Pepe, Smith Rowe, Martinelli and Balligan. Do you know what's mad? It seems like a hipster team from Twitter. That's what most Arsenal fans would want, only add in Saka somewhere.
It has that feel to it. And because of that, I was going to ask if you could bring out the lineup. You've done it for me. Based on that lineup, to wrap up the show tonight, what is your score prediction for this evening? The inevitable question that no fan in particular likes when it is opening game of the season. So your scoreline prediction, please.
There is going to be goals. Mostly to us. 3-1.
3-1 Arsenal. 3-1 Arsenal win, yeah. And anyone in the chat that's watching, if you want to get your predictions as well, I'll quickly pop them up on the screen and we'll see what happens. Nix is going, Saka not starting, he's laughing. Yeah. You never know, he might come off.
The one thing that I'm very happy with, one of my last minute decisions was putting Smith Rowe in my fantasy team instead of Saka.
Look at that one there. So before I wrap up, Nix is going 3-1 Brentford. Leah's go. Daniel's went. Lee made me laugh how he won't celebrate Harry Kane goal the Euros. I'll consistently admit that was funny. Like, even as an England fan, he just refused to celebrate a Spurs player scoring. I have to admit that was funny. Next is going 3-1 Brentford. If anyone else wants to get your comments in before we wrap up, I will put them on screen. But at the present, I just wanted to say we've been going over an hour. I just want to say thanks everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. Please hit the share button as well. Subscribe to the Weekly Armchair Sports Talk, where we literally chat all things football, WWE, UFC, MMA, pretty much. We also have basketball stream, which is done by Tim. He holds that podcast with Rach and Greg. It's all done from there. I think they're back this weekend. I'm not 100% sure, so we'll see. But it's a matter of where they go. Obviously, Greg, I've seen him today in our group chat. He's a happy man because he's a Clippers fan. They have re-signed a player as well, so he's buzzing. Daniel's going 1-1. Tony from the penalty spot. And question from Nix. If Arsenal win, who do you think will score?
So basically, what? I said 3-1. Let's go. Ivan Toney will score probably from the spot, to be honest. I can see us giving away a penalty, to be honest.
Wouldn't be surprised.
It'll be like 1-1 at halftime. We'll go 1-0 up through, I think Nicolas Pepe scored the first goal in the new Premier League season. And then it'll be 1-1 at halftime. And then in the second half, we'll pick it up. And Martinelli will score. And do you know what? Ben White on his debut. Header.
I like that. I'm going to flip it around. I've actually gone 3-1 Brentford. I've gone Christoph Ayer to score if Ayer's playing. I've gone for Ivan Toney to score from open play. And I've also gone for an own goal. I think, I don't want to put the pain on the mustard, but I've gone Mari to score an own goal. But for Arsenal's goal scorer, I've gone for Martinelli. I think Martinelli's going to score. But on the base of that, I just want to say thanks, guys, for tuning in. Daniel's comment, thank you very much, mate. I do appreciate that. To the Man United fans that are going to Old Trafford, enjoy the game tomorrow. I am jealous of all of you. I will not be there, but obviously we play Leeds, our first game of the season. So if you are going to the game, please enjoy yourself. I hope you enjoy celebrating a win. From us on a Friday night, special edition of London Lowdown, previewing Arsenal versus Brentford, discussing Arsenal's season ahead. It's a thank you from us. Have a great evening, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you later.
Enjoy the football.